It's 25th of October 2016. We're talking to Graham Mayer about life on Silverdale. Okay, Graham, could you tell us what it was like growing up on Silverdale, please?
Well, I loved my era mainly was the middle of the 1950s onwards. Grew up, born on Silverdale. Born on Silverdale at the primary school just below where my parents lived. The era I was watching in the mid-50s, I did see big changes, even though I was at the age still in primary school. I was very lucky and fortunate to live in one of the upper council houses at the top end of Silverdale. Some of the changes I saw, they were building and building. I saw green fields, how proud is my valley. And then I saw the big changes coming in the late 50s and 60s, where the back-to-back houses were being knocked down. And I was wondering then what was happening. I saw terrace houses, what really weren't fit to live in. Toilets up the yard. I used to go stop at the weekend with me nan, and the tin bath was there ready for me uncle, come from the Silverdale colliery. He used to work in the washery, and the tin bath was there ready for me Uncle Jack. The hot water was in, he'd come in, have his wash, and he always finished up playing his banjo and ukulele, and we'd have a lovely time with the range rate was all there, but alas, all that had to go in the 60s. The bulldozers moved in, and the change was there coming. And while I was there, I saw houses popping up. The green fields was gradually going. Parkside had been built. Collieries were shutting in Durham, and the miners moved into Parkside. Houses were being built down the bottom end of Silverdale. The colliery, we knew what was on the way to finishing. They didn't want coal. We used to go up with my friends to the top of the dirt tip. We used to sneak up there on the dirt tip at Silverdale, and we used to see smoke. Nothing but smoke in the potteries from the bottle kilns. And then on Silverdale, all smoke, and the smog used to come in the winter. But since the Smokeless Act came in, things were really getting better. People still had chest infections. The old miners used to be coming out and walking down through Silverdale, and they had a job to breathe. The surgery was full of the old miners with chest problems, and no doubt in the potteries as well. But living on Silverdale, being brought up on Silverdale, I absolutely loved it because we had the fields. I personally worked on the farm in my spare time, and me and the children and the teenagers, we loved the 6 weeks holiday. We could not wait for the 6 weeks holiday from school. We used to walk through the tunnel, top of Silverdale, sneak our trunks out of the house, and we used to go swimming in the old marlhole. Alas, all that stopped because there was an accident. But we did have some fun. There was no millionaires on Silverdale, but we were poor, living from week to week. But the life we lived as teenagers and before, we used to have little gangs, not bad gangs, but gangs, boys and girls, and we used to take our radios out and we used to sit on the benches, and I never once did I ever see any child or myself go to their parents and say they were bored. We always had something to do. Come on, kids, let's go up the rocks. We used to play Indians, cowboys. We used to play the army as well. Always something to do. Always up the fields. Never a minute to lose. But living where I lived, I had the railway station at the back of us, so I was interested in engineering and the steam trains. And in the morning we used to see the Wedgwood train with all the workers come and pick all the Wedgwood workers up for Wedgwood. And then behind the station I had the colliery, which at 16 I started my apprenticeship as an engineer. 2 nights a week college. I thought, yes, I'm earning money now, I've got a good job, and I only have to walk around the corner to work. It was brilliant.
Could you tell us about your working life, please, Graham?
Well, I started at the colliery in 1962, and I managed to get an apprenticeship in engineering. Luck would have it, I was pretty good with my hands, so I finished up in the workshops. I still had to go down down to the pit and all do the maintenance and breakdowns down the pit, but I was mostly on the machines in the workshop and looking after my little patch, which was the water treatment plant. Lovely little job. I had to walk up to the fishing pools, take samples of water, bring back down, look after the maintenance, full maintenance of the water treatment plant, and in between if there was breakdowns and jobs on the lathe or whichever in the workshop, I did. But we all had to do mainly 3 shifts. I didn't like nights very much, especially in the winter. On them gantries at the pit, oh, it was terrible. It was wicked, freezing, 20 below freezing it was. Some of the jobs we had were terrible. I did see some bad sights during my time, and I did work there 32 years, so I did work quite a lot down the pit. I was in charge of the workshop now and again, and some of the laughable things we saw were very good. One, we used to work nights, and at one stage we found a dummy. We dressed it up in pit gear, didn't we, and put it by this little lathe where this chap, he had bad eyesight, but he used to do all the pumps up in the pit, and we stood it by his pumps. And he come to me that day and he says, Graham, he says, that chap's been there all day watching me. He hasn't moved one bit. So I thought, this is it. Oh, we'll have to do this. So that we saved this dummy. And the policeman used to come up and have a drink of tea with us in the lamp house every night. So we saved this dummy and we stuck it under his car. Well, we said to this policeman, look at that chap under his car. Well, this policeman grew bigger and bigger all the time he walked across to his car, tapped him on the shoulder and he moved and he didn't know he was a dummy. He took it down the police station. The police sergeant said, get rid of that dummy. He wasn't very pleased at all. That was one of the tales. And my friend in the workshops, even to this day, he still remembers it. He used to come in and we used to wear toe cap boots and used to get on the girder work and hang like a bat in the workshops with his toe caps on the girder work. He didn't do it anymore because the workshop foreman come in and says, get that man down off there. Oh, there was loads of tales. But the people at Silverdale Colliery, I would go back tomorrow. Because of the safety in the colliery, it was teamwork. Safety was priority and it was teamwork. I've never known any people like it, and especially on Silverdale. The people on Silverdale were that friendly and helpful. I just couldn't believe it. I really want to go back up Silverdale and live back up Silverdale if I can. Absolutely fantastic.
Can you tell us what you did for fun, please, Graham?
Oh, fun on Silverdale. We were never short of it. We used to go sit by the bush. There used to be a bench there and there used to be 3 old chaps used to come and they always domineered that bench. So we did have a bit of fun with it. We used to put the 10 pences on the bits of strings and let them pick it up and we used to snatch it away. We used to super glue 10 pences in front of them and we used to snatch it away and it was marvellous. The policeman caught me once on the Bush car park. I did a silly thing and let a firework off, but he clipped me round the ear hole. I know your dad, now go tell him what I've just gone and done. Don't do it again. That was off Mr. Ropey. I'll never forget that. It was a real good clip. But bonfire night, no trouble at all. We always had penknives. We had who had the best axe. We used to sneak up the woods and get some silver birch for the bonfire night. And it was all good fun as regards Parkside had their bonfire. We had our bonfire on Factory Yard, what was called. And we used to go ragging at night, pinching branches off theirs. Some of the times, especially after we left school, we did lose a lot of friends because they went their own way. But there were some days when in the 6 weeks holiday, and they seemed to be better summers for some reason. We used to have sandwiches off my mum and dad and a bit of pocket money. I know we shouldn't do it, but with the lads and the girls, we used to set off under the tunnel and walk all the way to Market Drayton with the sandwiches. Lovely, and it used to take all day, but we walked along the railway. Naughty, naughty. But there again, that was life on Silverdale. We used to go all over the place. Some days and weekends we used to, with working now, we used to have a bob or two in our pockets, and a lot of us used to go what you call the Crystal, top of Newcastle, and they had some fantastic groups there. So every Saturday night we used to go there, dressed up with a collar and ties on, or some weekends we used to go down Trentham Gardens. But that was a little bit pricey to get in there. So what me and the lads used to do, especially with the lad when he used to have his little Ford Pop, I used to get in the boot and we used to sneak through, and I used to get in free then because I was the smallest of the lot. We used to go swimming down Trentham Gardens for fun. It was beautiful, it was. There was nowhere, there was everywhere we could go. We were never short of something to do, girls or boys, round about that age.
What can you tell me about your family life, Graham?
Well, there was 5 of us in our family, living just below the bush. All had connections with collieries. My father worked at Leaside Colliery and then finished up after the war at Silverdale Colliery in the finance office. I had a granddad who was still alive. He was very lucky, he worked on the Somme and got away with it. So I got my granddad down at the bottom of Silverdale. And then I had my uncle, my favourite uncle. He used to take me up the jollies playing football every weekend. He was a grand chap, he was, but he finished up doing work at Apedale Colliery. But in the 1960s he got killed in the pit. There was a lot of people on Silverdale with relatives who had this trouble with collieries. But even so, you have to get over these things. But some days we used to go down the club with the parents. We had the Miners Club, British Legion Club and the Working's Men's Club. But the miners always found a bob or two for go and have a drink or two on a Sunday dinner time. Have the dinners and then sleep it off all afternoon. Why not? They worked hard for it. We used to go down, we used to have some nice times at Christmas. They always put a good do on at Christmas, especially the Working Men's Club. And then our annual day trip out, Blackpool or Rill, it was either on the train or coaches. Used to load the crates up with pop and crisps and off we go, Rill or Blackpool. They used to interchange.
What changes have you seen on Silverdale, Graham?
Well, I left Silverdale in the 70s after I got married, but I still go back up to Silverdale and I sit there on the parade and I'll look and I watch. I don't see many I know. There's a lot of people who've moved in I don't know, but they have made a good job of it. All the new houses, expanded it a lot. They've knocked all the old terraced houses down the bottom end of Silverdale, which they needed to be knocked down, because I remember walking up my nan's yard in the bitter wind and the winter, and you used to have to go to the toilet, and the sentinel was ripped up on a little hook as you went into the toilet. Not very nice things, and they were dingy little places. I'm glad to see they've gone. Not all, they've kept a few. I like it with the new housing estate, what used to be the colliery as well. But my brothers have all moved off the village now, and they all started in the pit. They all started on the haulage at Silverdale. Same as my father, but my father went to war. He lost his leg and finished up. He couldn't do what he wanted, and he finished up at Silverdale in the offices. They did fix him up, so they were that good.
What have you done in your retirement, Graham?
Well, since 1993, when the colliery shut, I had to look for other work. And I finished up at the YMCA at Anley, and I loved every minute. But due to ill health, I retired when I was 60. I'd saved all my pennies up so I could retire at 60. And then I started, what am I going to do? Right, I used to be a lathe turner, so I started my new hobby, photography and wood turning. I built myself a little workshop and started doing wood turning, and I was catering for all the Christmas presents, wood turning. I really enjoyed it, but I think out of all the people who come and say, what am I going to do when I retire, I could give them 24 places to go or things to do. There's no excuse, I don't think, for people who say, I don't know what to do when I retire, because my photography in hobby-wise, it's taken me all over England, all over Scotland, and I've got some fantastic photography to show anybody. It's been just as good in my working life and retirement. If I wanted to mix both, but I would still go back to the colliery. I'd start back tomorrow if they let me.